This is She Creates Business, a podcast for wedding pros. Your host, Kinsey Roberts, interviews incredible women in the wedding industry who are making their mark and creating success on their terms. Join the conversation.
Hello, and welcome to episode 117 of She Creates Business, a podcast for wedding pros. This is your host, Kinsey Roberts. Thanks so much for tuning in today. I hope you're having a great week. I am looking forward to introducing you to my guest, Katelyn Stanis. This is the first time I have had a guest who is a professional speech and vow writer, and I was really interested in her business. When she first emailed me to come onto the show, I thought, this is really neat. How exciting. I had to know how she created this business, why she created it, and how she's been growing it. So that's what we're really talking about today. I'm sure you could tell from the title. We're really chatting about growing a business, marketing a new business, how she's getting clients, and how she's been featured in publications like the New York Times. I'm looking forward to you meeting her. Let me tell you a little bit about Katelyn, and then we're just going to jump right into the interview. Katelyn is the owner and creator of Wedding Words, a wedding vow and speech writing service. She helps tongue-tied couples from across the U.S. tie the knot through her one-on-one custom vow writing service and online vow writing course. With a BA in journalism, Katelyn has always adored asking people the right questions to unearth their own vibrant story. Today, she uses that same passion to discover the details of a couple's love story and collaborates to put their heart into words. Katelyn has been featured in the New York Times, the Everygirl, Bridal Musings, Wedding Chicks, and Aisle Perfect. That is a lot of publications in just a year in business. And actually, Katelyn goes into specific detail about how she got featured in those publications and much more. Without further ado, let's hear from Katelyn Stanis of Wedding Words.
Katelyn, welcome to the show.
Hey, Kinsey, I'm so excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
It's my pleasure. Thank you for being here. I was just thinking as you and I were chatting offline, I can't wait to hit record because we have a ton to cover and you are such a joy to talk to already. So I'm really looking forward to getting into your business and what you do. So thanks again for being here.
Great, let's do it.
Okay, so as you know, I read that professional bio at the top of the show, but I'd love for you to tell everybody who you are and what you do in the industry. Just give us kind of that 2-minute recap.
Absolutely. So I am a journalism major. I studied journalism school just outside of Detroit, Michigan at Oakland University. And I've always wanted to have a career in writing. And I've always wanted to run my own business where I could help specifically women. And I kind of fell into what I do, which is I'm a wedding vow and speech writer. So I work with brides and grooms, as well as best men, maid of honor, and the parents of the bride or groom to write their vows and their speeches for their wedding.
That's so neat. Okay, I have questions about that, but how did you get into, where do you think you got the desire to specifically help women? How did that come about?
I just think that there's this energy I feel when I'm around really ambitious, positive, driven women. My closest girlfriends, when we get together, even if we haven't seen each other, we live all across the country. If we haven't seen each other in months or even years, we'll end up just sitting for hours on my couch or at a coffee shop talking about our latest ideas for a business. And it's, we'll sit and laugh about it because my one girlfriend, she does inspirational t-shirt designs. And my other girlfriend's a wedding photographer. And we just love bouncing ideas off of each other and then seeing how our work can help other people. It's just something that makes me feel connected and fulfilled.
There's something about being in person with people. There really is. Like even on the podcast, it's so nice to talk to people who are excited about their work. And even if it's not, like entrepreneurship or whatever, it's passion projects, it's this, it's that. There really is truly something magical about being in community with women. I agree.
Yeah, and I have to agree too, because I'm sure I assume you as well. I'm a part of a few, online Facebook women entrepreneur groups, and it's great to kind of toss ideas back and forth with each other. But there really is a huge difference when you can meet in person. So I'm based in New York City, and There is, I'm sure you've heard of the Rising Tide Society.
Definitely.
And so I started going to their Tuesday meetups, and it's men and women, but it tends to be predominantly women. And it's just such a positive, collaborative environment, and getting to meet in person is just, it has such a stronger effect and kind of reignites that energy. So that's something really positive I've found to do that.
That's so true. And I'm so glad that, Rising Tide Society, they have their meetups. I'm so glad we're kind of in this era of conferences, meetup groups, and things of that nature. Now, I know, of course, like in-person networking has been a thing for a long time, but I think specifically for women and creatives and the like, we really have this special place where there are so many options now. And I hope there's even more, like they just continue to kind of pop up of getting to conferences, getting to workshops and things of that nature where you can meet in person all of these great people you've met online.
Absolutely.
So let's talk about your business. Tell us how you got into it. So you're a journalism major. It's not surprising, but tell me how it happened.
Sure. So this is where it's I kind of fell into it, even though I've always wanted to do something with writing and I've always wanted to run my own business. Whatever I've tried to do in the past, it just wasn't quite fitting. And I kind of let it go for a while. And it's funny, they always say, like when you just kind of are open and you don't try to force things, that's when the magic can happen. And that's essentially what did happen for me. So last July, I lost my first grandfather. He passed away. And I'm from Michigan originally, so I flew home from New York City to Michigan for the funeral. And my father had been working on the eulogy. It was his father that passed away. And he asked me if I would review it, knowing that I'm a writer, and give him feedback. So I read the eulogy, and I said, the meat of this story is here, but this almost sounds like it could have been written about anyone's father or anyone's grandfather. The details that would make it specific to him were missing. And I had a writing teacher that always said, God is in the details. So when you're writing, be specific, and that's what's going to make your story really come to life. So I worked with my dad, and I went through line by line asking him, what is it that you're trying to say about Grandpa through this story or through this fact? And he would then tell me in his own words, and I would go, okay, I got it. I was like, okay. So then he would kind of, leave me alone for a few minutes so I could rework the sentence or the paragraph, and I would read it back to him and say, what do you think of this? Is this what you were trying to get across? And he would usually get tears in his eyes and just nod. And we literally went through the entire eulogy like that. And I went back to New York, and that process just kind of stuck with me, thinking there has to be other people who have these, milestone moments in their life when they want to make a really impactful speech. They want to give justice to that person or that moment, but they're not a writer. They don't know how to articulate all the emotions and all the feelings that are going on within them, and trying to put their heart into words. And so I did some different research, and that's what kind of led me to doing this for weddings. I liked the idea of actually helping people, going through the loss of a loved one, but due to just logistics and how that would work turnaround time wise, weddings seem to make more sense. And I love working with people who are in love, and I have a little bit of background in the wedding industry. In a past life, I worked as a bridal gown consultant. And so it just kind of all things merged together, and it just felt like the right fit.
And you started your business last year, right?
Yes. So my grandfather passed away last July, and then that August, I launched the website just to see what kind of interest there would be, and was able to get a lot of great instant feedback from brides, and specifically maids of honor are the ones that have reached out to me the most.
Oh, that's interesting. Maids of honor. Okay, well, let's talk about how you have grown the business and really how you've reached out to, or how you have found that clients are finding you. What are kind of like the top 3 ways you've seen that are helping you grow your business?
Sure. So the first is through wedding vendor referrals.
Okay.
So as I mentioned earlier, one of my best friends is a wedding photographer. And my very first client came from her, just letting her clients know about my services. And then I started to just network and make friends with other people in the industry, and have gotten referrals through them. A lot of times it is the videographers that really like to refer me because they say it makes their job easier when they know that they're going to have good speeches and good vows to edit as the overlay audio within the video. So that's been interesting, being able to introduce myself to them. The other way is through guest posting. So as a writer, I love to write wherever I can. And I've been really focused on doing outreach to wedding related blogs to, one, try to use that to get more traffic to my site, but also to help with SEO to my site. And to be able to, everyone likes to have those logos to show on their site to make them a bit more credible.
That's right.
And so doing that outreach has been, I would say, the second. And then the third is something a little different. I don't know if you've heard of like subscription boxes, whether it's for like food or now you can get like clothes sent to your house. They're great. I do one for clothes. It's amazing. I haven't shopped in a real store in years. But I reached out to some different subscription boxes that are actually targeted to brides. So you get engaged, you sign up for this box, and it gets sent to you monthly with anything from I'm about to tie the knot coffee mug or tank top, and I put some marketing collateral in those boxes. And I've had brides reach out to me through that way.
Okay, that's so genius. Of course, I've heard of subscription boxes, but you are literally the first person in over 100 episodes to say that that's how they've marketed their business. That's so cool. What a great idea.
I'd recommend it. And I'd also recommend doing some testing, like having a testing strategy around it. The first time I did it, I just did like 1,000, 4x6 postcards in a box. And as I've been doing it more, I've been playing around with different copy or colors, also offers. So my first offer I gave was a discount. So it was a percentage off. And the second offer I gave was a dollar amount. So
which one performed better?
The dollar amount performed better. And it's funny because they're actually saving less through giving a flat like $25 off than giving like a 20% off. But I remember once receiving something in the mail from one of those food boxes, and it was, here's $25 on us, spend your $25. And then it feels like it's real money that you don't want to waste, opposed to, it's another discount that, I get these in the mail for stores all the time. So it was just interesting that it actually was less money that they would be saving, but the way that it's framed from a marketing perspective, and the psychology of a person is like, I have money. I'm not going to let money go to waste.
That's right. And then it seems more like a gift card and less like a coupon.
Exactly. Right.
Oh, that's really fascinating. So how do you need to pay the person you are doing this for, or are they just happy to have stuff to put in their box?
Yes. So there are several, I think there's like 4 or 5 bridal boxes that I came across. And there was only one that responded to me. And the name of that one is the Ring Box for anyone who's interested in contacting her. Her name's Antoinette. She's very nice. And there is a small fee. I think it has to do with weight. So it might depend on what product you're putting in there. But, I used Vistaprint to print the cards. So they were pretty affordable. And then, like I said, she charges a nominal fee. And then it's every month. So you can just choose, if you want to do 1 month for the year, if you want to do it monthly. I kind of do it on an ad hoc basis with her whenever I want to try something new.
That is so neat. I'm like so excited by that idea.
Yeah.
Oh, really smart of you. Well, you also mentioned that one of the ways you like to get in front of new audiences is by guest posting. And you've been featured in publications like the Everygirl and Bridal Musings. How did you get into those publications? And I mean, of course, I'm sure you submitted a pitch, but did you find that they were like, yeah, come on in? Or did it take a couple of times? Tell us about that process.
So this is a great question because I think people are intimidated by this. And I think people think it's a lot harder than it is. But the truth is, like my mom would always say, don't ask, don't get. And I would just ask. I would just find a contact person. Sometimes it was not even a specific name. It would just be, editor at, and then the publication. But I would have a basic template that I would work off of, and then I would edit that to make it more personable to that publication and whatever my pitch was. Because what I'm going to pitch, the Everygirl is going to be different than what I would pitch Bridal Musings, just based on their audience and the content they provide. So I would typically keep it short with an intro of saying who I am, what I do, why I think their users would gain value from this. And then sometimes it's one very specific pitch. Most times I would offer a bulleted list of about 5 titles. So, giving them an idea of what the headline would be, because I think when it comes to people who work in editorial, that's the most helpful thing. 5 tips for this, how to overcome this. That's what they really want to visualize, is what is that hook, and is it going to resonate with my users, and is it something that I need now? So typically I'll also try to make it something that is topical if possible. So, with the holidays coming up, is there anything that somebody does in their industry that they can tie in with Christmas proposals? A pitch I could do would be how to write the perfect proposal for your girlfriend this holiday season. Editorial always wants things that are topical as well. So that's an easy way to help them. And the thing is, for people who are intimidated by this, because if you're like my boyfriend, he always feels like, I don't want to be interrupting them or, acting like I'm just using them because I need something. And I always think of it more as you're helping them, because they're sitting all day thinking, I have to publish X amount of pieces of content a day to get so many page views, so many comments, something to post to social media. And they may have a slow news day. So if you can put something in front of them that's a little different, you're actually going to help them. And so the short answer to your question is, I just ask. And if they don't respond on the first time, I'll typically follow up 2 weeks after that, and then another 2 weeks after that. And if I don't hear back by the third time, I usually let it go. Unless it's something I really, really want, then I'll try usually a 4th time as like the last ditch effort.
Those are great tips. And I can really attest, as someone who receives pitches, I can really attest to what you said about you're actually helping them get great content, particularly when it's somebody who pitches so well and such a detailed, exciting topic. Like, you're the first person I've had on my show who is writing wedding vows and speeches, and I find that so fascinating. And had you not pitched me, I wouldn't have found you. I would have found you eventually, right. I'm sure, but I was like, oh my gosh, of course. Like, I wouldn't have thought of that as a topic. And I'm really at a season of my life when in 2017, 2016, I really liked finding my own guests, and I didn't accept a lot of pitches, but I'm in a season now where I love to get pitches, especially if they're good. And you are so correct that you guys are really helping people when you pitch them well. That's kind of the key there, is to pitch them well and pitch them topics that are exciting. And you can't decide what will be exciting to a person, but if the pitch is good, I think if you're being lazy, or if it's good.
Yeah. And I've had people pitch me because they see that I have a blog on my site and I'm creating content. And I can always tell when it's kind of more of this mass email that's sent out. And so, definitely making sure that you're reading articles on their site. What I like to do is see where I would fit into their website structure. So I look for advice sections, wedding planning tips sections, and I make it easy for them to say, oh, I see you have a wedding advice column, but you haven't given any tips on wedding vows, which personalized wedding vows is a very popular common things in ceremonies now. Here are a few headline ideas. And, that kind of lets them visualize, oh, I see where this would fall into my website.
Those are great tips. You mentioned to me offline that you work a full-time gig, as do I. And I'd be interested to know I love productivity and organizational tips. I'd be interested to know how you are balancing, I like the word like integration better, how you're really integrating your full-time job with your business.
Sure. So, as I mentioned, I work in New York City. I work a 9 to 6 job. And so that was one of my challenges. Even before I started the business, I was working to write my first book the year before I started this business. And it was finding the time to do it. Usually by the time I get home from work at 6:30, make dinner, there's just enough time to, call my boyfriend or talk to my mom, maybe do a workout. And then it's like, let's hurry up and do all the stuff so we can hurry up and get to bed. And so the evenings were either just gone or I was mentally exhausted and I didn't feel creative. So I discovered for me personally that mornings worked best. And I just worked out a system. It sounds very simple, but I would wake up 1 hour earlier every day than what I needed to get ready for work, which usually means I need to wake up around 6 a.m. And so that was how I wrote my first book, was just one hour a day. And that, I would say process is what's transferred over and made it easy for me to keep up with this business. That's when I do the majority of my work, is 1 hour in the morning and then a lot of my weekends. And so it sounds simple, but I hear people always say things like, oh, I wish I had time to do this. I wish I had time to do that. Just find the time of the day that you're going to be at your most creative and productive and carve out that 1 hour. You have to schedule it and commit to it. I would say commit to it like you would a doctor's appointment and show up.
Well, you can't get away from me without telling me about your book.
Oh, yeah. So I wrote this book last year, and the whole concept was how to live a happier life by living a healthier life. So it was semi-memoir, semi-workbook, very self-helpy. And every chapter focused on a different topic, whether it was dating, career, exercise. And I would just share my personal experiences of how I turned my life into a happier one by becoming healthier. And then I would give actionable like worksheets so that the reader could take those steps.
Oh, that's cool. I like that format.
It's not published. It's currently sitting in a Dropbox folder.
That's okay.
But it was one of those, I think everybody or every creative person has something that's tugging at their heart, whether it's, producing a song or a short film. And
That's right.
For me, I was very set on getting it published. And I discovered once I completed it, it felt like I did what I needed to with that. And it's, there's a saying, all roads lead to Rome. And that really was the jumping off point that writing that book led me to taking a writing workshop. And that writing workshop led me to taking these writing classes in New York City that taught me very specific things that are what then I used to help my dad with the eulogy. And so it's just, you end up getting where you need to go.
That's right. And there are times where you just need to get that project like out of your heart and out of your head, put it down on paper, figuratively or literally. And then, even if it just sits in a Dropbox folder forever, fine, it's done.
Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes it's not always about, getting something published or getting paid for something. It's just a work of creativity and something that you need to fuel you and fill your cup. And like I said, it all kind of builds on each other and I think helps make you the person that you're meant to be, even if it's not what you originally thought it was supposed to do. The universe has a way of knowing better and is like, I got you. This will all work out. Just trust. My word for this year is open. So it's like, just be open and all things should just kind of fall into place.
That's a good word. And I think that's such an important lesson too, is that sometimes it feels, and I feel like I've talked about this on the podcast before, in the creative industry and kind of the entrepreneurship world, it can sometimes feel a little bit suffocating in my opinion, because I think a lot of us think that every single idea or project we think of has to be, quote, a thing. We have to make a business out of it. We have to make money off of it. We have to create a whole Instagram account for it or, what have you. And it kind of feels hard to sift through that just to make something for yourself, which, in this case, your book led to those writing classes,
right,
led to your business, led to all the things that were really where you were, meant to end up. But had you not taken those steps of putting the words on the page, who's to say what you would have done?
Yeah, and going off of that concept too, I would say sometimes it's very glamorous at the idea of starting a business. And it's like, oh, I'm going to design my logo and I'm going to make sure it's the perfect logo and I'm going to pick out the perfect name. And my boyfriend and I literally, he helped me build my website. We did it over 2.5 days when we were visiting my parents in Michigan. And it was like, I threw up a logo that I designed myself and I have like zero design experience, but it was like, okay, let's just get something up and you can edit it later. And, 6 months later, I ended up hiring a graphic designer to design a professional logo for me and come up with branding and my color scheme that was nothing that I originally launched with. But I didn't even know if I would get paying customers or if there would be a need for this. And so I had done that before years ago when I tried to launch a clothing business, and I put a ton of money into it, and I quit my day job earlier than I probably should have, and it failed. I didn't make anything from it. And so what I learned is like, start small, test an idea, and then build at the same pace that you're growing. I didn't file for an LLC on day one. I actually waited a few months to see, okay, is this actually a business or not? And so I think that's something that I learned over time is you don't need to do all these front-facing kind of sexy things to be legit. You just need to get someone to say, yes, I believe in what you're selling and I will actually pay you for that. And then you get more proof as that happens.
Yes, it's so true, because your website, your logo, your social media profiles, it doesn't actually mean you're making sales. And if you're not selling and if you're not marketing, regardless of what your stuff looks like, you don't actually have a business.
Absolutely.
So good. Well, what are you doing now with the business? I mean, you're a year in, you're doing these great marketing things. What's kind of the next steps for you? What are you looking forward to?
Yeah, so the original service that I launched with one type of service across, when I say verticals, I mean, maid of honor, best man, brides, grooms. But the one service was one-on-one vow and speech writing. So the way that service works is we jump on a call very similar to this, and I ask a series of questions. It's very conversational, but the point is to really learn the heart of the bride's love story. What makes this relationship unique compared to any other relationship she has? Why is she choosing to marry this person? And I actually record the session. And so then I have everything that I will transcribe word for word what she has said. And I then pick out themes. And it's very clear to me, usually as we're talking, like what those themes will be that will ground the vows, and one theme will flow into the next. So, for example, a theme might be his sense of humor, or how supportive she is, or how they're so excited to start a family, or that they love taking adventures together. And so then those will be kind of the anchor points, and any other things that are said will be built around that. And I'll send the first draft to the bride or groom to review, and that's when they have an opportunity to provide as much feedback as they want. Oh, I really love this part. It sounded just like me, but this other part, I actually want to completely remove, or I forgot to tell you this one story. Then I'll go back and edit everything and send a finalized version of the vows. And with that, I also send a video recording of me walking through the vows on my screen so they can see it. And I'll go through line by line, giving them tips for how to deliver their vows. Because for a lot of couples, writing is only half of the stress. The other anxiety they have is around having to deliver it. A lot of people have public speaking fears. And so I will give them specific tips for, they're usually worried that they're going to be crying so much that they can't read it. So how to deal with that, how to, enunciate certain parts and wait to read, because people are probably going to laugh at this one part. So be sure to pause, different tips like that. So that's the first service that I launched with. I quickly realized that I needed a way to scale the business that wouldn't be constricted by the time frame of how many hours in a week do I have to write vows, whether it's, now as my side hustle or in the future when it's a full-time gig. And so that's what led me to what I'm working on now that I'm very excited about, is a digital vow writing course. So this is something at a much more affordable price point for people who are either not willing or able to spend for the one-on-one service. And it puts them in the driver's seat. So it's the exact same process that I take with my couples individually, but they are managing it on their own. And so the course, once they sign up, it's a series of short videos and slides that walk them through specific examples. And each module is broken into the steps that I take, from brainstorming to editing, writing your first draft, and so on. And so that I launched about 2 months ago just for brides. Again, I'm all about testing. So I didn't want to create a course for every vertical until I saw that there was a need for this one. So I launched the MVP of the bride's vow reading course and have just been receiving feedback and testing it with actual brides and getting feedback. And then my goal for the rest of this year is to focus on evolving that product and expanding it to the next vertical, which the one I've gotten the most requests for would be the maid of honor.
Ah, okay. And how has the feedback been on the course so far?
The feedback has been really positive. People love that they have something to guide them. Most brides that I speak with, they feel really lost as to where to begin, and they're stressed, and they usually leave it till the last minute. And so this kind of is just this tool in their pocket to give them some more confidence. And then another add-on to the course, if somebody wants to do the upgraded version of the course, is once they've completed it, they can actually send me their finalized copy of the vows, and I personally review it and then provide track changes. So I'll have line edits, I'll make comments, and that's kind of like, I had a friend describe it to me as when you hand in an essay in school, you want to know what the teacher has to say about it. Like, did I do a good job? Did I do it right? And so that's the bride's opportunity to get that kind of confirmation of like, is this okay? Is this as impactful as I want it to be? And then I'll give her that feedback, and then she'll feel like she really, most of the brides that have sent me their vows, they're already truly fantastic. And then I'll make some line edits and comments to them on how they can make it more punchy or more impactful. And it takes it up a notch that they're really thrilled with. So that's been the really positive feedback, is that they just feel confident and excited to deliver this, and that they've had this kind of outline to follow opposed to being lost. The constructive feedback I received that was really helpful is the audio quality of some of the videos is a little shaky. And this was a concern of mine as I was I'm sorry?
I was just saying, I like that you're sharing that you got some constructive feedback.
Oh yeah, it's not all rainbows and
not
roses.
All unicorns, you guys.
I mean, I shot everything in my bedroom of my small Jersey City apartment. But again, it's about starting small and testing before you're investing money or more time in something. And so that's where I had a $50 camera that my photographer friend recommended I get to add to my computer that would record the video and the audio. I already had really nice lights that I had bought a couple years ago for some other stuff that I had done. And that was all I used. And I had one day that I did my hair and makeup really nice, and I shot all the videos in one day, and then the work of, editing it together and creating the slides and doing all of that. So the audio quality that they were referring to was not in the videos. It was when I had been walking through slides and done audio on top of that. I used a different kind of mic that, for whatever reason, it just wasn't picking up clearly. So I was waiting to see if brides would make note of that, or if it was more my critical ear. And now that they've made note of it, I'm like, okay, I need to make that update before I do more mass marketing of this. Because I started with really minimal marketing, just like I said, to get that feedback. So at the end of them completing the course, I would send them a really short survey that would, ask them different questions about their experience, but then there was open forms where they could give candid feedback. And that's where I received that constructive feedback.
Okay, there's two things that I really like about what you're saying. And the first is that you chose to offer one-on-one services first, which, number one, is the quickest way to make money. Working one-on-one with people is the quickest way to make money. So that's a little tip right there for all of you listening. and that you used that feedback to then offer something that would scale your own personal time. I think it's so important not to start with a course because it's number one, it's not the easiest way to make money. You have to have a huge list and a huge audience to make like passive income from a course right away. But also you haven't built an audience yet, and you can really do that and really hone your skill through one-on-one work. So I love that you did that. And then the other thing I hear you say that I think is so neat and that I want to just shine a light on is that you actually did kind of a feedback survey from the course to get information on how to improve it. And I think that's something that a lot of us miss when we do publish a course, is that even though maybe we have done one-on-one work and then we do a course, we don't actually ask for any feedback. And, I think that's so commendable of you for saying, okay, I put this course out, but tell me how to make it better.
Absolutely. I mean, the feedback is what has driven my business from the beginning. Even with the one-on-one, I would send these surveys. And part of it initially was to try to get testimonials that I could put on my site. But I ended up getting really great feedback too, that then, like you said, it kind of leads to all different ways to grow your business. So I highly recommend people send something and make sure that it's done in a very thoughtful way. We all know that couples getting married are super busy. So the timing of when I send the survey is important, as well as how many questions and how long it'll take them. So the survey I send usually will take about 5 minutes if they're just answering the yes or no questions, or scale of 1 to 5 questions. And then there's a couple fill in your own answer. If you're really thorough in writing an answer, then it'll maybe take you 10 minutes. So that's really important. And then what you mentioned about not launching with a course first, I wouldn't have known how to design a course if I did that first, because working one-on-one with clients showed me the process that I was taking. Like, I was able to mirror that process that I take one-on-one, and that's how I was able to develop the course. It's literally mirrors. Okay, I have an interview with somebody on a call. Part of my course is I tell people to interview themselves. So normally I interview you, I record it, and like I said, I transcribe everything. If you take the course, I give you a list of 10 to 15 questions to ask yourself. And I say to record yourself and just, pretend you're talking with a girlfriend and have it be very conversational. And then the most tedious part, I will admit, the most tedious part of the course is once they finish recording themselves, they need to type out every single thing they say. And it's tedious, but it is the game changer that makes writing vows or any speech that somebody needs to write so much easier, because you've essentially already written your vows. It's just in a bulk of like a brain dump. And then comes, the editing and kind of picking out your themes and identifying that and polishing it and trimming it down. But you already have it written and it's in your own voice. And a lot of times when somebody sits down to type or to write something, they feel this pressure to sound instantly poetic and polished. And a lot of times it doesn't even sound like their own voice. But if you're just talking, that's when you're getting to get those golden sentences. I'm trying to think, somebody, I don't remember if it was the bride or groom, but about like talking about it was her talking about her dream man and listing all these qualities. And then she said, but he's just so much better than that. And we were able to use that in a really sweet way in the vows that I don't know if she just sat down to write, would that stream of consciousness have happened or not? And so I highly recommend people speak their heart out loud before trying to write it.
That sounds like also a great way to write the copy on your website.
Absolutely. Yeah, for anybody, because I hear that a lot. When I first started out and I was trying to connect with other wedding professionals, I would offer to write their About Me pages for free. And that was something that people jumped at me doing for them, because I've not met a single wedding professional who says, oh, I love writing copy for my website. And so that would be my tip and my trick for you is, it's really hard. Everybody says to talk about themselves, but jot down a few questions to prompt yourselves. As a writer, we use writing prompts to start a story or start an article. And so if you're going to work on your About Me page and you feel awkward and you don't know where to begin, start by answering the question, how did you start your business? Why are you a wedding photographer? What is your favorite thing about working with couples? Why the wedding industry opposed to any other industry? Why do you like this job compared to the day job you had before? And even though you might not use some of the answers you say in the final About Me page, little gems are going to come out of you saying those things out loud, and you'll be surprised at what comes out.
Oh my gosh, I'm kind of writing notes down about this, but I'm also just thinking I want someone to write my About page for me.
And another tip I would say about an About page, because I know this is a thorn in
It really is.
a lot of people's sides, is and I heard this from another person as well, so I can't take 100% of credit for it, but everybody tries to be, personable. Now the whole thing is to not just sound like a business, to sound like yourself, which is great. But when you lead with, I enjoy white wine and Netflix binging, that's like a cute thing I like to have at the end. I recommend you start your About Me page with not just saying who you are, like, oh, I'm a photographer or I'm a wedding planner, but start by stating what problem you're going to solve for your end user. So if you're a photographer, instead of just saying, oh, I'm a wedding photographer, I capture candid moments between you and your love, or I make your wedding day something that you can remember 30 years from now, and then go into more of that professional, but being able to, like, my tagline that I have on my website now is stress about writing your wedding vows or speech, I'm your panic attack antidote. So it's like everybody relates to having a panic attack when they have to write and give this public thing. And so it's like, I'm not just saying I'm a wedding vow writer, I'm saying I'm your panic attack anecdote.
Oh, that is such a brilliant tip. So good. This has been so much fun, Katelyn. Thank you so much for being
My
here
pleasure.
and for giving us all these amazing tips. I still cannot get over the subscription box thing. You have just been so much fun to talk to, and so I just love you.
My
Do you
pleasure.
have any final tips? Like, if you could just leave She Creates Business listeners with one tip before they go, what would it be?
It would be something that my father taught me and my grandfather taught him, who was the inspiration for this business to begin with. And that is, everybody makes mistakes in business, but when you do, fess up to them and be honest with your customer. You're going to get a lot more respect in the end. Everybody's human. It's how you handle those. And so be honest and have some humility. And I think that will take you and your business and your brand a lot further.
So good. So true. Everybody gets it. And that power of authenticity is really unmatched.
Absolutely.
Thank you again, Katelyn. It was my
Thank
pleasure
you.
to have you here. I hope you have a great night, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks. You too. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much for listening to She Creates Business. Please take a minute and head to iTunes to leave an honest review so we can help more wedding pros find the show.